Disclaimer: the views expressed on this episode of Perspective Platoon with Prateek are solely the opinions of the host and the guest. The content of the conversation is not reflective of the institutions or establishments mentioned therein. Take all these opinions with a pinch of salt and a dash of lime if needed. Namaskara, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching or listening, and welcome to this episode of Perspective Platoon with Prateek. My guest this week is Giannina Albines. Giannina and I have known each other for a couple of years now, and like most of my guests so far, met through the University of Central Oklahoma. In this episode, we covered a wide range of topics, some of which included her connection with faith and how she was reintroduced to it all after moving here to the United States from Peru. We also spoke about her connection with her grandfather and the lessons that he taught her, and so much more. I'm sure that there's a ton of anecdotes that you can pick out from this episode that you could relate to or find funny or interesting in some way. So, without further ado, I present to you Giannina Albines on this episode of Perspective Platoon with Prateek. Hey Giannina, how's it going?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So before we get started, let the people know who you are, some of your likes, your dislikes, your future aspirations. Yeah.
Wow, that's huge. Okay, so my name is Giannina Albines. I'm an
Mm,
international student at UCO. I'm from Peru. I'm studying computer science, information system, which is like a computer science business. So it's kind of weird because it's two different extremes. But yeah, it's something that I really like to do. And some of my aspirations is like kind of big, but there you go. I really want to work for a big technology company like Google. There's like Facebook or stuff like that. But yeah, those are like my goals, but if
mm.
I don't get there, then I have other options. So that's good. So yeah.
Good, good. What are some of your likes and dislikes in like daily life?
Okay. So I really enjoy to like sing and dance, but I'm not really good at it.
Mm.
I
Well, you dance pretty well. Don't give yourself the short end of the stick.
well, oh, there's people who dance better, but I don't sing. That's the thing. I don't sing at all. But I really enjoy to do that. I really also like when the weather is like sunny. That makes me feel so happy, even though it's like a bad day. When it's sunny, it's just like best day ever. I don't know. I just feel like when sunny days are like amazing.
Right.
And yeah, and I love sunset. To see sunset is like my favorite thing. It's like my personal time.
Mm.
um yeah, I feel like I connection. I don't know, it's so weird,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Cool, cool, cool. What is it about sunsets that you like that you feel connected to it?
I don't know, I feel like when I was back in my country, so my house had like this huge window, literally was like so big that you can just open it and like breathe, and like when you just like, I don't know, sit down to see um everything around you, it was like this kind of like sky blue, orange sky, which is like
Mm.
make me feel wow, that's like so precious, how can like the universe can do something like that, it's so
Yeah.
weird. And kind of like in my room I have like this little window that I can see it through it, so it kind of reminds me home, but
Mm.
also like make me feel connected with God. And yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm. Cool. No, that's beautiful because I like, yeah, I really like the sunrise and the sunset too. Like
Hmm.
when it looks beautiful.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Usually I do this thing like when I go out, I sort of look at the sun, sort of like giving thanks because
Yeah.
you feel like a
Uh-huh.
sense of connection to it.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it's like there is a sense of higher power, like you said, like God. It helps you
Mm-hmm.
connect with God. So mentioning
Yes.
that, like you are, I'm just like from what I know of you, like from seeing
Mm-hmm.
some of your posts, you are a religious person.
Yes.
So what is that? What is that connection like for you?
So it's a huge deal actually, because when I grew up being a Catholic, yeah, so my grandparents really like raised me like as a Catholic, but I used to go to church like Sundays or special like holidays, because like Latin America is like a Catholic, um like I just forgot the word, but okay, Peru is a Catholic country.
Mm-hmm.
um so yeah, I grew up in like that, so a religion was like a good part of my entire life. But then when I came here, I wasn't looking for something like that, because I wasn't like connected, like because it was just holidays, church and stuff. But then I remember coming and be like, okay, well, I'm just going to college. I'm living my life, and I don't care about everything else. But
Mm-hmm.
then God like look some ways to get me, connect again with me, and people around me. They offered to take me to church, and I went to Henderson Hills, which is like the church that I belong now, and they were so amazing. Like, even I never imagined to actually go to a huge show like that, or meeting amazing people, and they're just like they're like my family now. So I love
Mm-hmm.
them, and I just love the fact that they introduced me again with my faith, and they make me grow in it. And now it's just like I have a relationship with Jesus, and it's totally amazing. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, that's beautiful, and I can relate to you in that sense because
Mhm.
after I came here too,
Mhm.
not that I wasn't religious or anything, I sort of just stopped keeping up. Like I stopped praying that often.
Mhm.
Whenever I did, but I was very inconsistent with it.
Yeah.
But recently, in the past year or so, I've I think
Mhm.
maybe something has to do with maybe some of it has to do with COVID.
Yeah.
Um, but I just like connected a lot more, and
Mhm.
that certainly helps. So like just bouncing off of that, like what do you think were some of the reasons you weren't able to connect during that time when you initially moved here?
Oh, well, because I wasn't actually looking for it. It was
Mm,
something that I didn't want to pursue, because back in my country, my surrounder, the people who were around me were seemed to be religious, but they were like so mm, judgy and stuff like that. So I was like, why would I like to be in a place like that? In a
mm,
place where everyone is just looking around you, looking like everything what are you doing and everything that is wrong and stuff. So it's not, church is supposed to be a place like a hospital. You're sick and you want to get better. So you
mm.
go there and you can like get better and you like recover and stuff.
You can feel better.
Exactly. But it's not supposed to be like a place where everyone is just like, okay, you are not perfect, so you don't belong here. So that's what that makes me feel. So I had like a bad relationship with it. But here it was totally different. Everyone was like, you are loved here. We need you, because it's like you need to get better. You you literally have a life to go, and you have to pursue your faith. And yeah, so that was totally amazing. That's why I was like, okay, this place is actually the hospital that I need in my life. So yeah.
Mm, mm. That's beautiful. You mentioned something about how people back home in church were quite judgmental
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. Why do you think that is? Like, if you're comfortable sharing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if it was just well. Well, I think I do know. It was probably was just my neighborhood, or the place that I used to live. But everyone was like, talking about each other's business, and everyone's like, you know what? I saw this person doing this, or I saw this person doing this, and they go to church. How that's possible? You're supposed to believe in God and do anything wrong. You're supposed to be perfect. Um, so I remember like going to this my family church, a church that we used to go for holidays and Christmas. Um, and they were like the same people, talking about others, and I was
Mm,
like, okay. And then okay, so I love my grandma. She's amazing.
mm,
But she used to do something like that too, she would be like,
mm,
we were talking and she would be like, this is wrong. How is like this people is like that and that like that. So I'll be like, okay, so you're teaching me to be good, but at the same time, you're teaching me to talk about others' business. So I was like, okay, this is wrong. So
Mm,
yeah, that's what I felt when I was there. So yeah.
mm. It's interesting because, like, yeah, like from what I understand, from what I've learned so far,
Mm-hmm.
um, from reading a religious book in Hinduism called Bhagavad Gita, also they talk about like judgment and how we're all just a manifestation in a way of that higher power, you know. So
Yeah.
like we're all the same in some way or the other. It's just those unique quirks that
Mm-hmm.
make us different.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like the
Yeah.
fact that we judge each other. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm like a purist and I don't,
Mm-hmm.
or I've not done it. I've done it too,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I'm gradually trying to move away from, because I think, like you said, like if you've grown up in that environment, knowingly or unknowingly, you end up doing the same thing too.
Yes.
So sometimes you have to catch yourself and like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I should stop doing this. So
Yeah.
have you felt that way too?
Well, yes, actually, I went to church this Sunday, and this was exactly the same topic, judgment. So the Bible says something. Actually, it's in Matthew, and says like it's easier to see everyone else. It's basically that's what it is. Everyone else what they are doing wrong instead of looking yours, and you are supposed to see yourself first instead of others. Um, so I some of the questions were like, are you actually doing that? Do you go run and see like others problems and other what everyone else is doing wrong instead of yours? I was like, and also was like, in which kind of way, and I was like, yeah, actually I thought about it. I was like, yeah, I like have like a huge problem, let's say like that, when
Mm,
some people think that I mean, people are like, they go to church and they're religious and they believe in God, and I kind of, if they do something bad, I'll be like, okay, no, that's wrong, you're supposed to be perfect again, that's the same thing that I used to grow up with. And
mm,
then I was like, well, I actually have to think about it, I had to be like more, okay, Giannina, but do you also do stuff like that, you do like sing and do grown things, and you have to see yourself first, go to a mirror and see yourself, be like, this is the problem with
mm,
um so I was like, okay, yeah, I have to be more understandable and more like, like I have to see my own eye first instead of others. So
mm.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because like a lot of the times, like you said, we're more fixated on what other people are doing rather than being
Hmm.
fixated on what we're doing. So we can get sort of lost
Yeah.
in that zone of being like,
Hmm.
oh, that guy's wrong, this guy's wrong,
Yeah.
everybody else is wrong, kind of thing.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
But no, like the fact that we are coming to a realization, I think, is a good thing, that
Hmm.
you're sort of working towards becoming better, which is the first step, I guess, towards actually
Yes.
becoming better.
Uh-huh.
So
Hmm.
yeah, that's great. That's great. Um, you mentioned that you're from Peru, so talk to me about the culture in general, about the place that you came from.
Wow. So I think like, well, culture. Okay. Okay. I love my country. It's
Mm,
totally amazing. We have some things that are good and some things that are bad. Our good thing is like, ooh, our food, amazing. It's just totally wow.
yeah.
So the other night, we had like it was like a housemate meeting and stuff. So everyone was like, okay, what should we cook? And I was
Mm,
like, you know what? Let's do empanadas, Peruvian empanadas. And we were
mm,
like, okay, yeah. So I started like probably 3 p.m. and we ended up cooking it all together. And my roommates tried. It was like chicken empanadas. I'm
mm.
vegetarian, so I don't, I
Yeah,
didn't actually try it.
yeah.
Um, but they were like so amazed by it. So so I was like, yeah, that's my food. That's my country, literally. And we use, my sister and I, we use like some Peruvian spices that we found in the Latino feria. That it's
Mm,
actually in Spanish. It's called Feria Latina. But yeah, so that's actually something that kind of recognize Peru because it's from there.
yeah.
So we have like an ocean, so we have like a lot of seafood, which is really famous. Ceviche is something like really famous from Peru. Um, Also our dances, for example, for the pageant I done something what that was called marinera. They do like I don't know how to say it, competitions. So between like everyone in the country, they go to dance, and yeah, it's just beautiful to see how people actually like put themselves there, because sometimes they dedicate to their self to do that kind of dances. Also, we have one of the wonders of the world. That's how you say it.
Yeah,
I
one of the
think
seven wonders, you mean?
seven wonders of the world,
Yeah.
which is Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a huge mountain, like green mountain. And I went when I was 12. I actually don't remember too much, but I remember that
Yeah.
was amazing.
Mm.
I was like looking for some pictures for it, because it's just, like I've been there. I have some pictures, but then I tried to go with the camera and everything was blurred because I was 12 years old. It was like 2013. There wasn't good cameras. Maybe there were, but I didn't have one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so everything was blur or something like that. And the pictures weren't good at all. I didn't took the picture, which is like literally you're like that, and then the mountains behind you. I didn't know that exists actually, so I
Mm.
actually don't have the pictures. But I would like to go again.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's basically my culture,
Mm.
and it's like a crowded place to the place that you used to live. There's a lot of people. Um, Also, maybe this happens in a lot of countries, but there's people who sells stuff in the streets. It's really common. We have
Mm.
buses, a lot of line of buses. Most of the people, they don't have their own cars,
Mm.
so we have to take buses if we want to go to places, and we have a train.
Mm.
So I think that's pretty much a lot. Yeah.
Gotcha. You mentioned that there's some good things and some bad things. I think you mentioned a lot of the good things. If
Mm-hmm.
you're comfortable sharing, what are some
Yeah.
of the negative aspects of Peruvian culture?
Okay. So yeah, I'm really comfortable saying this, but
Okay.
a lot of people um steal stuff. So
Mm.
you're like in a dangerous place actually. Like I'll say my whole country is like that. There's no safe place.
Mm.
It's really dangerous when you're a tourist and you have like, for example, you can go with your cameras because you want to like take pictures or record a video. Your moment there.
Mm.
But it's gonna be really dangerous if you just like put it literally in your neck and be like around with it. Actually, you can get hurt because people can just like steal it
Okay.
from your.
Yeah.
Um, you cannot go alone at night because even like, it's worse if you're like a woman and you
Mm.
are walking, and yeah, a lot of stuff happens. Also, some it's more like people, because it's people who actually do it. The streets are not that pretty because there's garbage all over around.
Yeah.
What else? Oh, also, like Aceh is like a place really crowded, so
Mm.
we are like really disorganized. And for example, the trains, this is really funny because when you are taking the train, you're supposed to have like a capacity of like, I don't know, let's say 200 people. Well,
Mm.
in Peru, there's if 200 can fit, well, 400 can fit too. So everyone goes like,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's something like, oh, and the laws are not respected. That's one thing.
Mm.
For example, here when you're driving,
Mm.
you see a stop sign, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I have to count 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and then you can go. Well, in Peru, a stop sign is like part of the decoration in the streets. Yes, so you can
Yeah.
literally pass through it. Yeah, they don't care. I didn't know a stop sign when I came. I
Mm.
didn't know stop signs were a thing actually,
Yeah.
because a lot of people were stopping there, and I was like,
Mm.
what?
Yeah.
I was like, wait, do we have that in Peru? I literally asked, and they were
Yeah.
like, well, I'm pretty sure you do have that, because I mean it's part of the law or something. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, well, yeah. So that's when I find out that it's actually part of the decoration in the streets. And well, yeah, that's kind of bad things about my country.
Mm.
But yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that you said that reminded me of back home too, because
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you've seen pictures, but like especially in Mumbai, which is like probably the most crowded
Uh-huh.
place in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the exact statistics, but like that's definitely one of the most crowded places in the country. And if you type pictures of like Mumbai railways, you'll see like pictures of people literally hanging out of the doors.
Oh yes.
So it's like it's packed to capacity,
Yes.
people fighting, people
Uh-huh.
trying to get in, not
Yes.
necessarily following rules and laws. It's
Uh-huh.
common. Like even where I come from like the southwestern part of the country
Mm-hmm.
by the coast,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to travel by a school bus, or not a school bus, but a public bus,
Yeah.
to go to school. And I remember like there were a few times where like I was hanging off the door
Uh-huh.
because it was like packed with like a lunch bag stuck to my hand and like my
Yeah.
backpack, and like you're trying to hang on, and then when somebody gets down you try to get your way in and sort of like make sure that you're inside, and you don't fall off the bus and die. But
Yes.
yeah, so like and I to avoid that I try and like catch a bus earlier in the day, that way I don't have to like I can get away from the rush.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot of things like that. Like everything you just said reminded me of everything that happens back
Uh-huh.
home too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting that I think, and I don't think it's just Peru and India. I think a lot
Mm-hmm.
of places in the world sort of
Yeah, I bet.
experience that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, so it's just crazy that it happens more than you'd
Similar.
like to think. Yeah.
Well, I actually haven't seen it here. Maybe because they don't have buses,
Mm.
but maybe it's because just Edmond that I don't see, people like trying to get into a bus and be like,
Mm.
like move on because we need a space. And they always say there's always a space at the back. So if you go to the back, you will find a space. But it's actually not true.
Mm.
But yeah, so it was like I feel a little bit more safe
Mm.
because I find something that I really like is to go out and run. So I run like through the summer. Well, winter is so cold outside that I cannot
Mm.
do it.
Yeah.
But at summer, I can literally run the whole university. Nothing is gonna happen to me, or maybe someday. But for now, everything is okay. But if I do that in my country, wow,
Mm.
I'll have to go with someone else. So be
Mm.
like, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And I think maybe some of that is also because Edmond is not that crowded as a place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas the places that we come from are quite crowded.
Yes.
Because have you been to like any of the bigger cities over here, like in the US?
I've been in Texas.
Mm.
I went to this Six Flags and stuff. So
Mm.
that was maybe because it was like a park and there was a lot of people, but
Mm.
the traffic, Jesus, that was so big. Like in Texas, it's like you cannot move.
Mm.
Also, here's something called traffic, but you can move, but it's not that fast.
Yeah,
But
it's not that bad
there,
over
it's not that bad. But here, no, for Texas, it's like a little you can get stuck for a long while and be like, okay. So Texas is really like traffic huge.
here. Mm.
But yeah, I've been there. I went to Colorado, but just for like 2 days, so I didn't get to experience much.
Mm.
And in South Dakota, I think like no one lives there. It's so cold.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I haven't seen people around in South Dakota. So
Mm.
yeah, where
Gotcha.
have you been in the United States?
I've actually been to quite a few of the bigger places because my parents had come down to travel to see the
Mm-hmm.
country
Mm-hmm.
in 2018. So I ended up going to places like New York and like
Wow.
LA and San Francisco. I
Uh-huh.
remember the day that I went to New York from here, it was raining. And I was walking on the street to get some food because my parents hadn't like come to where I was at that point because we were
Mm-hmm.
meeting at a certain place.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember the roads were sort of filled with puddles of water. Like it was
Ah.
crowded.
Uh-huh.
It reminded me a lot of home, honestly, like
Yes.
a wet day back home.
Uh-huh.
So I'm sure, like if like we go around, I'm sure you can find places like like our homes too.
Yes. Yeah.
Probably sure, like maybe New York might be a best
Mm-hmm.
representation because of the
Yeah.
amount of people there. So yeah, even LA for that matter was a little crowded.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so like I've been to those places, and I've also been to Colorado too. But Colorado was really nice. I was there for about 3 days with
Mm-hmm.
my old roommate and a couple of other friends. So it
Uh-huh.
was really nice. I really liked Colorado, like the scenery there. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Do you go in
Yeah.
winter?
Actually, fall break. Yeah,
Okay,
so not
okay.
exactly winter, but before winter.
Uh-huh. Well, winter
Um,
is really pretty.
yeah, yeah. No, if there's any place that I'd like to go back to again, it's definitely Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes. Yeah, I'll
sometimes
say
when you
that
tell
too.
people, yeah, sometimes when you tell people that you're going to Colorado, they think it's for the weed.
Yeah. I
But
know.
well, I don't smoke, so
Uh-huh.
I'm not going there for the weed. But
Yes.
it's a beautiful place.
Yeah,
It's a
I think.
beautiful place nonetheless.
Uh-huh.
I mean, no judgment if you're someone that does the weed, but
No, I
no
don't. No,
comment.
no, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
no comment. No
Yeah.
comment. I'm not someone that indulges. My
Yeah.
mom might be watching this and she's like, "Oh, he's talking about weed. I'm sure he's
We.
done it." But no, I have not. Don't worry, mom.
Well, my
Yeah,
mom couldn't understand anything of this, so she would just see my face and be like, "Oh, okay."
yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. So you mentioned the pageant earlier.
Oh yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, she was mentioning the international pageant, which happens at UCO during April.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, so you ran twice, right? You ran the year that,
Hannah, yeah, one.
yeah, and then you ran the year after.
Yeah.
I was just trying to remember how like it
How it
all,
went.
yeah, because I don't know why I sort of lost like track in terms of when was what.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like because the second pageant that you did was virtual, right? Because of COVID. So
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, but my first question about that was going to be, not many times do you see people like going for something like that the second time.
Mhm.
Like yeah, you said somebody else won, Han and Lihia won
Mhm.
the first time
Mhm.
that you tried,
Mhm.
um, and the second time that you tried, you won. So what made you go back the second time?
Okay, so something that is actually really true is like my first time I went, but I wasn't prepared at all. I was
Mm,
like, "What is this?" Like, I'm just going because I mean it looks fun. There's a scholarship hand in there, so probably let's see. There's like a side of like maybe I will win.
mm,
So I'm like that kind of person that gets excited for everything.
mm,
So I was like, yeah, maybe I can get a third place and or maybe the first place.
yeah.
So and then I ended up like getting absolutely anything, but
Mm,
my country and a lot of people that I didn't know at that time, there was like this picture that you post in Facebook and they have to like it. Well,
yeah.
that picture literally went viral. For
Mm,
that, a lot of people like it. It was like 2,000, like yeah, 2,000 likes that I got. Like people that I don't know 2,000 people,
right.
and there was like my parents shared it. They were like so proud, and also my high school they shared. Were like, yeah, go support um our like alumni. That's how you say it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like I was that's crazy. But then I was like, I went with Isabella the first time,
Mm,
but then she left in 2020, 2020. Yeah, she
yeah.
left in that year, and we were supposed to do it again together.
Mm,
But then I was like, well, she's not going. Why am I doing this alone? And then Joseph signed up with me. He's like my best friend. So he
mm,
was like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this together. So I was like, great.
mm,
And we have like a platform. We had been working in this platform, which is called like International Student Project, which is basically telling about international experience in the United States and motivate some other people in around the world who wants to go and get like a UX experience. There's
mm,
like videos and like some videos that students like talk about their experience, and yeah, that was like something that we worked when we were like doing the pageant. But then he had to leave because he was doing something for another organization. So I was like, oh no, he's leaving now. Who am I doing this?
mm,
So at that time I kind of realized that I was depending a lot in people and
mm,
depend not only myself. So I was like, so if you're not doing when it like if you're doing this with someone else, you may like I don't know how to explain it, but I didn't trust myself. So I was
mm,
like, well, I have to be with someone else because I have to support myself, and someone
yeah.
else going to the rehearsals and stuff. So I was like, Janina, I literally went straight and be like, this is going to happen. You're going to do this alone because of you, because you have to grow in yourself and be like more secure and more like trust in yourself, and because you can do it. Maybe you won't win, but maybe you have like this experience and be like, you know what, I try it again, and maybe something will come out of it. So I tried again. I had a lot of support from my friends, and I was like, yeah, go for it. And then everything went online. So I was like, oh no, this is so weird. And then at that point, a lot of like candidates, and they had to drop out because they went to their home country. So we were like 6 people, I think. No, we were like, I don't know, like 6.
I think it was 7 or 8, if I can
7
remember.
or 8. Yeah, there were 8 people because there was 4 girls and 4 guys. Yeah, and that was like kind of scary because there's less people, and I was like, oh no. And then yeah, that's why one of the reasons I tried myself, because I wanted to prove myself that I had to do it for my own. So yeah.
Was that something that you learned from like your first time of trying, that you needed to trust yourself a little more?
Yes, that was actually, yes, that's something that I got of for my first time, because I was like depending on everyone else. And for example, if Isabella had to do something, I would do it too. You know, if I don't know, some of my friends had to do a lot of things else, I would like go with them, but I will never go for myself. So my first time, it was like, basically, I didn't have faith in my own. You know, I was like, well, there's like better people, you know. So now it's like, I got it. You know, I did it, so I feel better. So yeah.
No, good on you. Yeah, good on you for doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Isabella is one of your close friends, right?
Yeah, she's my best friend.
Yeah. And she's from Bolivia, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Just to add context to those
Oh
of them
yes.
who don't
Sorry.
know.
I
No, it's okay.
think.
It's okay. No worries.
Uh-huh.
Was there anything else that you learned from your experience of doing it the first time? Because the first time there was like 10 girls and 5 guys, and the second time there was 4 and 4. I mean, yeah, like some of it got affected because of COVID, but was there anything else that you learned from your first time of trying it?
Well, the first time, 2019, you were talking about?
Yeah.
Well, there was more people actually. There's like 7 girls or something.
I think there was 10. I think there was 10
10
girls.
girls?
Yeah, I think there was 10 girls, because I remember that year, because I was passing the crown down, right? So I think, yeah, if I can remember correctly, there was like 10 girls and 5 guys.
You're right. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I learned a lot about my culture because I had to talk like fun facts and stuff, and I felt more like my first time was like really proud to represent Peru, but the second one, I was like, I'm Peru, you know, like I feel like Peru right now. Yeah. So I feel like more like I'm a Peruvian, and that's what defines me. So I was like, yeah. So I love my country since that day really more. So yeah. So yeah.
So it helped you connect with your country a lot more than you actually did before.
Yes. Oh, and also I remember the first that year, the first pageant. That's when my first grandparent died. That was like really close to me. So I wanted to do it for him because he was like one of the most important people in the world. But then the second pageant was exactly like the day after. Like literally, pageant was the day after my other grandparent died. So I was like so bad, like so kind of depressed, and I was like, well, I was feeling really bad that day. A lot of people didn't notice it because I was like, but I remember like winning the pageant, and my parents, they didn't celebrate with me at that time because they weren't like in the funeral and stuff. But the next day, we kind of went to that virtual funeral, and I was like praying for them and be like really supportive. So it wasn't kind of like a celebration, but it was more like something that I wanted to do for my 2 people that are like in heaven. So I was like,
as a way to pay tribute to them in a way.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's weird in a way that it's happened like both the years that you did the pageant.
Yes.
And you said that you felt depressed that day. If you don't mind sharing, what was like? How did you feel like before performing, or when it was your turn to perform or sort of walk, and all those sort of things? Like, was that something that was running in your head during that time?
Yeah, I remember that day in the morning. well, the day before I was like really sad and I was like crying all night and stuff. But then the day after, I had to apply for IC too because it was like the elections. So I was like, you have to put yourself together because you want to get into, the association. So I literally was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I went to that interview. And right after that interview, it was the pageant, the personal one. But I remember feeling like really, it's not like, I wasn't feeling hype about it. I wasn't feeling like, oh, today is a pageant. That was like the first year that I had. That day was like more like, well, you compromise with something, so you gotta do it right now. So you have to take that sadness like to a side and like concentrate for what you want to go. If you want to pay tribute, then do it good, because that's what my grandparents told me. Like sometimes we just as humans let our feelings ride our life and be like, okay, you know what? Today I feel sad and today is going to be a bad day. But, and we literally let our feelings ride our whole day and our whole life. So I remember my grandparents were more like, well, we got to do something. For example, we cannot be sad all day because these people, they love us so much, but they wouldn't like us. No, they wouldn't like to make us feel bad about it. Like, okay, it was their time to go. You don't have to be sad about it. And I kind of remind that to myself and be like, and also my faith to God was more like, okay, make me feel good. And I remember before the pageant, like praying about it, like be like, please God, don't let my feelings ride about it. But yeah, after pageant, it was like, oh my gosh, I won the pageant, oh no. But yeah, so yeah, that was kind of my experience. But yeah, it was really weird actually that both of them died before each pageant. So
yeah,
that was interesting actually.
Right. I mean, but more power to you to be able to do that, because I think a lot of the times people can break, especially during those precious situations. So,
Yeah.
I mean, props to you. Props to you for being able to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You said something interesting there about people going and their time to go. So I was just curious that you mentioned that. So is that something that's that you learned through your practice of your religion, or is that something that you've just sort of, is that a personal feeling that you have? Like where does that come from? That feeling of, oh, it was their time to go, so they went, kind of thing.
Okay, so well, the first time that I like lost someone that was really important to me was my first grandparent. I used to live with him, so and he kind of raised me, so he was like also my dad. And he was like the person that I most like literally follow, and also because he introduced religion to my life. He showed me how like Jesus loved you and stuff like that. But and then I remember they called me like 2 weeks before he actually died, and they were like, you know what, your grandparents actually kind of really sick. You should just like send him a video and maybe it will be your last words to him. So I was like, oh no, this is sad. So so I was like really sad about it. And then 2 weeks after, they like called me saying like, well, he just passed away, but you are in classes, so you cannot come. So I was like, okay, so you're telling me basically my dad just died and I cannot go and like actually see him because I didn't saw him for a whole semester, and the last time I said goodbye to him, I left him in literally like a sofa and hugging him, and he was okay. But I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember that like literally week I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm just my brain didn't go in my classes. Oh my, it was like it was stressful and that was a time that I was like getting into actually going to church and believing more in God and have faith. So I remember going to the bathroom and be like, Jesus, I want to believe in you. I want you to take this pain away from me, and actually show me that I don't have to be sad about it. because this is consuming me. Um, and that's when my mom called me and be like, I want to talk to you because I know you are like a feeling kind of person that is like
You're an
always
emotional person.
emotional person. Yeah, there you go. And that's when she told me like it was his time. He wasn't going to live forever. He wasn't going to live until you turn 100 years old. And I was like, you're right. And she said it was she literally said the same thing. It was his time to go. People don't live forever, and he did his goal here. He made people the best, the happiest they could ever be. He was part of our world, and he made a lot of changes. So just let him go, because you crying, you're not letting him go. So I was like, okay, you're right, I'm not letting him go. Now it's time. So that's when my faith started growing more and be like, I trust more in God and I trust in Jesus. So I want to give my life to them. So yeah.
Because like I think we all get upset, or we feel like our soul sort of crushes when we hear that somebody we know has passed away. Especially for you, in your case, like you said, someone who literally was like your father, sort of brought you up and like sort of introduced a lot of things to you. Religion being one of those things. In a way, it seems like it all came full circle because he introduced religion to you, and religion was the thing that helped you sort of,
Yes.
accept the fact that he wasn't anymore. He wasn't living anymore. So that's,
Yes.
the fact. Yeah, all of that is just fascinating because, like I said earlier, I was reading the Bhagavad Gita, or I've been reading the Bhagavad Gita recently, and even that talks about how like souls come into this planet, and like the bodies that they are in are sort of like the dresses for the soul. So like when like when they die, it's just their body dying, their soul
Yes.
doesn't necessarily die.
Uh-huh.
And it's just their soul changing clothes, if you will, if you
Yes.
want to put it that
Uh-huh.
way. So yeah, like reading that at that moment, I was like, whoa, like this is profound, but at the same time it's hard to sort of not be emotional about things like this, because
Yeah.
you're losing someone. And knock on wood, like I haven't had that many tragic losses in my life. I have like once, but that was an uncle of mine who really who was a good, like who was a close relative of mine. And actually losing my parents is a bit of an insecurity of mine in a way.
Yes.
uh, be it to death or be it to like just separation for whatever reason. I think I've mentioned this on some episode before. I can't remember, but yeah, like it's weird, but at the same time, you have to come to that understanding of like, yeah, like they're not going to live forever. So
Yes.
there is going to be a time when it just ends.
Yes. Actually, that actually, I just say actually twice. Sorry.
It's
That
okay.
happened. That happens like 2 weeks ago. So my parents, they got COVID, and they are high risk, and they are high risk people. So my dad, he lost her sister because of COVID, and
Oh
then
wow.
he got tested positive, and he ended up being in the hospital. So I remember like going for a walk. Okay, that's something that's my mind goal. And then they call me and be like, something about your dad, because he's kind of like, I was like, what? You cannot tell me this when I'm in a walk. I'm supposed to be, less
You're supposed
stressed
to
than
be
this.
relaxing. Yeah.
Exactly. So I remember I was like in UCO, around UCO walking. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like crying myself, like, and I was like going home like crying. And then I told my sister about it, and we just sit down and be like, so sad about it. And we call our mom, and she got tested too. So it was like, there was a slightly chance that I was about to lose them both. So I was like, this can't be like that. And I remember that night reading like a podcast, not reading, listening to a podcast, and it says like, when you are in trouble, it's better to see the problem with eyes of faith instead of eyes of trouble, because if you see it with eyes of faith, you have hope on it, and you are not feeling like your world is about to crash. But if you see it as a nice problem, then obviously your world is crashing. You don't have faith at
Yeah.
all, and it's like you're basically putting them into death when they are still alive and they have hope. But
Mhm.
so that kind of like make me feel like best like more confident about what's going to happen. Now they're okay, they're getting better.
That's good.
So I was like, oh, okay, we got out of that. So yes, yeah, that was like huge 2 weeks. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can't imagine, like, yeah, especially to hear that they both have it, and they're not
Mm-hmm.
that well. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we spoke about like loss a little bit even when I spoke to Ganesh or
Mm-hmm.
Blue. We know him
Yeah.
as Blue.
Yes,
Uh,
I know.
so yeah. So like there too, like he was talking about how it takes time to get over things like this. Like, so if you don't mind my asking, were you able to get over the fact that you lost like your grandparents like back to back?
Yes, I got better for it. Kind of took me like my first young parent. I couldn't talk about him without actually crying a lot,
Mm,
because he was really important in my life. But then
yeah.
I was like, like you got over it when you actually stop crying and be like more sentimental. So yeah, it kind of that one took me a long while to actually be like, I'm not with them. I'm not with my family. But then the second one I was more like prepared and ready because they already told me like before, and they were like, "Okay, I need you to sit down because something is happening." That's how they told you. I kind of like I know when they are about to tell me bad news. So I'm
Mm,
like, okay, this happened, and that like took me like a week to be more like powerful about it, and also because there was the pageant right next to it. I was like,
right.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, it was like a time, but now I feel like better, and I had like two angels taking care of me, so I like
Mm,
seeing it like that. So, yeah.
mm. No, yeah, that's beautiful. Again, if
Hmm.
you don't mind me asking, you said your grandfather
Hmm.
like was the one who sort of brought you to religion.
Yes.
Other than that, if you're willing to share
Uh-huh.
maybe like 3 to 5 things that he taught you that have stuck with
Okay.
you or that will stick with you for the rest of your life, what are those things? Or what would those
Um,
things be?
he taught me to be more uh, child, childish, but not in a bad way, but in a way that you can still enjoy your life even though
Mm,
you're old.
mm,
Um, he also taught me to love people as much as you can because sometimes you just not are gonna see them again. Um, so that was like a huge deal because sometimes I'll be like so mad at people and be like,
mm,
"Oh no, that they deserve more. I'm not gonna talk to them anymore." But
right.
he was a person who was like, "Well, what happens if this person dies tomorrow? You are never gonna see them again, and you are so mad that you don't. I mean, to forget to, uh no, it's not forget, to forgive. That's the
Hmm.
word.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, you're right. But he taught me a lot of that, and also um so he had like this way to celebrate stuff. um like a lot of all my family knows this, but
Mm,
it was like a drink and it's Coca-Cola with
mm.
some, I don't know, do you know Ritz? That's the kind of like cookies. They're not cookies. They're like crackers or something like that.
Oh, Ritz. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, they're salty crackers. So
Mm,
every time I'll win something or I go to high school and get my grades, he will celebrate like that. So that kind of
mm,
stick to me until I'm in college. Literally, if I had a good grade or something, I'll just go to the store and buy some Coca Cola with rates and celebrate. So
mm,
that's what a lot of my family do. Like,
mm,
remember to him. What else? Um, okay. So he was a person who loved to hack people, like
mm,
literally hack them so much. So I'm a touchy kind of person
mm,
who kind of like, for example, in the United States, it's not like you go and be like, "Oh, hi, how are you?" and you don't like give them a kiss in the cheek because that's kind of weird.
mhm.
Um, but you can hack them. So here, I really love to hack my friends and be like, "This is my way to show you love."
Yeah.
I'm like you are care and you are love. And also this is the last one that I'm gonna share. He taught me to always ask when people is having a bad time, or
Mm.
always ask how they're doing, if and go for it, be like, are you okay? If they say like, yeah, I'm okay, and be like, be more intentional with people. That's what
Mm.
I mean. Be like, you don't know what's going on with them. If they need help, maybe you can be the person who would actually, like, I don't know, they can talk to
Helps them
you.
in a way.
Yes. So that's something that I'm like trying to do in this time, because
Mm.
COVID and people is lonely. So I'm like, okay, you can tell me whatever you want to. So yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
I like the fact that you mentioned that. I mean, all of that, like everything that you learned, like from him, it's
Uh-huh.
like, I mean, I've said this word enough, I think, but it's really beautiful. Like, because
Uh-huh.
a lot of the times we forget about some of the lessons that we've learned from our elders,
Mm-hmm.
because like maybe we might have some negative feeling towards them for
Yeah.
something that they might have done.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, realizing that they've taught us a lot
Yeah.
um, in our lives can really sort of like give you a different perspective in a way.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Because for me too, like I've been raised by, like, I mean, for 12 years of my life I lived in the Middle East with my parents,
Mm-hmm.
but they used to both work. Like my mom and dad both worked, so I used to live with my grandmom. Like she would be the one taking care of me.
Mm-hmm.
And after I moved to India, I was again living with my grandmother. So like my grandmoms have been part of my life. So maybe sometimes I feel like, or I used to feel like I'm not grateful enough for everything that they've done for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like when you're far away, sometimes you realize like how much they actually mean to you,
Yes.
and
Uh-huh.
how much they actually matter to you and everything
Mm-hmm.
that you do. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, there's a lot to learn from them, even
Yeah.
though like we might have some negative feelings for the way they behave
Mm-hmm.
or things like that. So
Yeah.
like, I mean, at least I don't know entirely in your
Mm-hmm.
case, but for me, I've had instances where, like, I wouldn't say fight is probably word too strong, but
Mm-hmm.
I've had my tiffs with my grandmom when I used to stay in India, my dad's mother. um, but at the end of the day, like, she's given me a lot. Like,
Uh-huh.
she made sacrifices for me to be able to
Yes.
like go to school and all that. So like
Uh-huh.
realizing those things, and I'm sure you can relate in that sense. Like your grandparents have also like done everything that they
Done.
could for you.
Yes.
So yeah, that's that. Like learning from them it's
Uh-huh.
just beautiful. Like it just adds
Yeah.
to your life in a lot of ways. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's really awesome. You said something about being intentional with people, as
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the lessons you learned from your grandfather.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, why do you think that's important? Why do you think it's important for us to be intentional?
I feel like, for example, we have a lot of friends, but we are those kind of people that be like, "Hi, how are you?" And they would say, "I'm good." Okay, that's good.
Mm,
Bye.
yeah.
And I was getting used to that, and I was like, okay, well, they don't talk to me, I don't talk to them. But
Mm,
at some point, I was like, okay, maybe I'm not intentional with them. I'm not like following, like be like, okay, if you really want to talk, I'm here for you. Um, Even if you want to talk and be just with someone and in the same room, I'll be like, so actually glad you actually asked me.
yeah.
Um, but for example, I live in a huge house, yeah, with 7 more people.
Mm,
Um, and that'll be the same case. We will be like cooking and be like, "Hi, how are you? I'm good, good, okay," and be like not talking to each other and be like so weird and random. It's like we
mm,
live in the same house. It's kind of weird that
mm,
we don't talk.
yeah.
And then at some point, everything changes. Literally, everything changed like 3 weeks ago. We were like, this can be like that. So we have like a house girls and also a house, like a boys' house or something like that.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
they sometimes come to ours because our kitchen is like huge.
mm,
So, and then we decided we had to be more like sisters and brothers, and be more like, I want to care for you, because we live together and we go to church together. So we are supposed to do something like that. We had to commute, to make community.
mm,
Um, so we start having breakfast on Saturdays, and like talking
mm,
about school, talking about things that happens to us. They didn't know about my parents, and they were like, why you didn't talk to us? And I was
Mm.
like, oh, well, you didn't ask. That
Oh
was like
yeah.
something that I was like, make me think. That's
Mm.
right. They live with me and they didn't ask about it. That's what
Mm.
something that I do. Sometimes people, I don't ask how they're doing. If something is wrong with them, how can I pray for them?
Yeah.
So that taught me and be like, okay, this is what my parents, and that's how my family raised me, to think about people and love people. That's a way to love them. So
Mm.
I kind of started being more intentional, being like asking some friends like, hey, how are you doing? And following with them, and be like, whatever you need, I'm here. I invite you. Or for example, it's kind of like hard when you don't have a car and you want to buy someone for coffee, but you have to walk all the way over there.
Mhm.
So sometimes I'm just like, I want to talk to you. Um, but yeah, right now I don't have Instagram or Facebook, so I'm like with WhatsApp. So it's just kind of
Mm.
weird because sometimes they don't just answer. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So yeah.
Mm. No,
Mhm.
yeah, that's now that you mentioned it, that's definitely something that I personally I could do a lot more of, I think.
Mhm.
Um, like just asking, because usually like we're really busy with everything that's going on. You're like,
Mhm.
oh, I have this to do, this to do, this to do, this to do.
Mhm.
Like check all of those off. You're not
Yes.
necessarily thinking about the people around you or
Exactly.
how they're doing.
Mhm.
I mean, I personally don't think like you need to do it for the
Mhm.
sake of doing it. You should do it if you actually feel like doing it,
Mhm. Yeah.
Because if it's just like a chore of you doing it just for the sake of doing it, then like
Yeah.
it doesn't you're being intentional without being actually intentional.
Uh
You
huh.
know what I mean?
Yes.
So yeah,
You don't
like
feel good about it.
right, exactly. Like you
Mhm.
need to. I personally think this is just my opinion. I think you need to do it with intention, that way you can maybe connect a lot better with those
Mhm.
people.
Yes,
So
I
yeah,
totally agree with that. Mhm.
yeah, that's great that you've been able to do that and like come to that realization
Mhm.
rather. But
Mhm.
you mentioned something else that was really interesting towards the end. You said that you've gone off of Instagram and Facebook. So I'm just curious to know, like, again, if you don't mind sharing, why did you leave those platforms?
So, do you remember that we were talking about judgment and stuff like that? So,
Mm.
I was like, it was like a phase that I was getting into and be more like judgy about people around, and be like, and
Mm.
comparing myself to some. It was like I was following some girls and be like, oh, I really want to be like her, but I'm not like, I don't have that face or I don't have that body, and I cannot take pictures like that. So, and I'll be like saving some pictures and be like, well, sometimes at some point when I lose weight or when I look like that, maybe I will take a picture of that. So it was beginning to be like more toxic and
Mm.
um more like comparison, and I was like wasting my time in there too, like
Right.
thinking about the things, and I was like, well, I'm not like loving myself for being who I am. I'm just
Mm.
like want to compare myself to everyone else, guess. I don't know, Instagram was like that. They will just put perfect pictures and be like, wow, that person has a really good life, even though you don't know what's going on in their lives. You're like, wow, they just living the best in the lives because they have, I don't know, they put pictures, I don't know, in the lake, or I don't know, in New York or whatever.
Oh,
They're
good times,
traveling.
basically. Yeah.
Having good times and friends and stuff. So I was like kind of jealous of like random people. They don't even know me probably. I
Right.
don't know them. So I just
Yeah.
follow them.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is something that is going wrong. And also I was like being like some judgy with my friends and be like, why are they posting stuff like that?
Mm.
Why they're like, I don't know, posting stuff like smoking or stuff. So I was like, and then I realized it's like, Jenny, it's none of your business. So, and
Right.
if they want to do it, they're happy doing it, then let them be.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's not like I had to take, I mean, it's not like I had to be like, oh my gosh, no, I wouldn't do something like that.
Mm.
Um, so I was like, okay, Instagram is actually making a lot of things. And also, like the iPhones like gives you like some how many hours do you spend in like, in applications and
Your
apps.
screen time. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, mine was huge. It was like 8 hours. So I was like, that's literally my day. So I was like, oh no, I'm doing it. So I deleted. I literally blocked my Instagram, and I don't have Facebook. And I'm the only thing I contact with my parents and family is through WhatsApp,
Mm,
and also like text, and sometimes a Snapchat because my cousins, they like send me
mm,
pictures or everything. So I was like, okay. So now I use something, Snapchat. I don't actually know how to use it, but I just send pictures. So I was like, okay, great.
mm,
So yeah, that's not like the reasons why I delete the apps. Because
mm.
no,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's interesting you mentioned that because like when I was trying to find you on Instagram to sort of send you a message to like
mm-hmm,
finalize when we wanted to meet,
mm-hmm,
I was like, wait, why can I not find her?
uh-huh,
And then like I found like I scrolled down on my messages and I saw Instagrammer and I
uh-huh,
opened that and I saw like our chat. So I was like, oh, I guess she's not on Instagram anymore.
uh-huh,
So that's when I
yeah,
hopped over to WhatsApp and I was like, hey, when
mm-hmm,
can we do this sort of thing? And yeah. But yeah,
yes,
like I was thinking about that. And then when you brought it up, I was like, yeah, okay, this is a good time to maybe ask. So
mm-hmm,
do you see
yeah.
yourself going back?
Uh, well, at some point I wanted to go back. Well, my birthday is next week. So I wanted to post like a 20-year old, you never turn 20 again. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to post like a picture or something, and then I thought about it and I was like, well, if I post then I will delete it again, because
Mm,
I just got used to not having Instagram. It's been
right.
like 2 or 3 weeks, no, 2 weeks, I think, without it. And
Mhm.
now it's like, I actually don't care about it. I don't care what actually people is doing. If
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to know, I would just text them. And
Mm,
it's kind of good. I really like to talk with my friends through like text messages or WhatsApp, because you're not like, for example, when you see like an Instagram, you basically think that you know what people is doing. So
yeah.
for example, you see a story, and they are like in a park, and you're like, oh, they're okay because they're in the park, oh, they're having fun.
Yeah.
So but you don't know, actually, you don't know what's going through in their lives,
Yeah.
you don't know, if they're okay, if their parents are dying, you don't know anything.
Right. Right.
So I wasn't being intentional with them. So
Mm,
now that I don't see what they're doing, it's like more like, hey, how are you doing?
mm,
So yeah, I feel like that. Yeah, it's been
mm,
pretty fun. um but I don't know, I'm just starting to think more about it and be like see the cons and pros about it, and be like, why, if I go back, then it's gonna be the same thing. I'm not okay right now. It's like, I'm not in the point when I think Instagram is gonna be a good thing right now.
mm,
If I go back, then everything is gonna go back. Those kind of feelings are gonna go back. But
mm,
I wanna
mm,
be okay to go back to Instagram. You know what I mean?
mm, mm,
So yeah.
mm. That's no, that's fair. That's fair. I think
Mhm.
we all have a different sort of comfort levels
Mhm.
in terms of yeah, like when you realize some of the things that you do, you
Mhm.
want to try and cut it off. And you're not the only one that I've heard say what you just said about how sometimes we get a little too judgmental when we see people on there. Um, and like that they've stopped using it for a month or so, and it's really helped them sort of
Yes.
like just not constantly think about stuff like that or what someone else is doing or if their day is going good or bad or whatever. So
Mhm.
good for you to be able like for you being able to stay away from it, because I think it's really hard, especially in a time like this. Because also I think unfortunately uh, we also use it as a channel to sort of seek gratification. Like you post something and you're like, oh, this person liked it, great, like
Uh-huh.
100 likes, 200 likes, 300 likes, let's go,
Yes.
sort of thing.
Yes.
So
Uh-huh.
I think it can be really hard sometimes to sort of separate
Mhm.
yourself from
Yes.
that.
Mhm.
um so yeah, no, good
Mhm.
for you to be able to, good on you for being able to do that. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, like it's come back full circle to you being intentional now that you're not on there.
Mhm.
So it's all interesting. Like it's interesting how everything sort of pans out.
How everything
uh,
connects.
yeah, exactly. Now you're more connected than you were with an app that was meant to
Mhm.
connect you with people.
Mhm.
That is, yeah, that is very interesting.
Yeah.
um we're going to transition in towards the last few stages of the podcast. But before I do, I wanted to ask you one more question or talk about one more topic. You mentioned about, again, this, if, only if you're comfortable talking about it. You mentioned something about weight loss, and I mean, it's something that you've gone through. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you've lost quite a bit of weight.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind my saying that, and good on you for being able to do that. Good on you for
Uh-huh.
being able to do that. But what was it for you that sort of changed? That was like, oh, I
Mm.
need to put in some work and lose weight.
Um, so it's kind of right actually. When I was back in Peru,
Mm,
I became vegetarian for the first time. It was like a whole like 6 months of being vegetarian.
mm,
However, I wasn't eating good. I wasn't eating like, I thought it was like, okay, I'm vegetarian. I don't eat meat and I
mm,
want to lose weight. So I don't eat carbs. So the only thing
mm,
I eat right now is salads. So I
mm,
basically went through this phase. It wasn't anorexia, but it was
mm,
getting to that. Um,
mm,
I was like seeing myself like, okay, I'm still need to lose more weight and weight and weight. And I became anemic. I was like really, really white and pallid and stuff. So my parents started worrying about it. So they basically made me eat again. Everything that I didn't eat for a long while, I eat it all back again. So that was kind of a struggle through high school because high school is this kind of like phase when everyone is like judging each other how they look. So that's how I felt when I was in high school. It was like more like they would like criticize me and like bully me
mm.
because of my weight. So that's the reasons why I wanted to lose some.
Yeah.
And then I became like a swimmer. I got into the Peruvian team, and
Mm,
that was like my sport. So I was like I was doing exercise and I was eating well. So I was in my right way. And then I had to stop because I had to apply for college. So I was like eating well because my parents and my grandma they were like feeding me and giving like the right amounts of food.
yeah.
It was okay. Everything was okay until I came to the United States.
Mm,
And then in the school at that time, everything like there was meals every week and everything was free. So the meals were like pizza, hamburgers, chips. There was no salad at all. So everything was like bread and stuff. So I didn't take care of myself. So I went a lot of weight and it was like kind of extreme because I have this problem when I gain weight a lot, my legs start hurting a lot.
mm,
So I cannot like, well, it's not like I cannot move, but I feel pain.
mm,
Um, so I start feeling like that and I was like, okay, well, I know I'm like overweight right now. So I have to start losing some weight.
mm,
So at that time, I wasn't vegetarian because I was afraid I was going back again to be anemic, and my parents weren't there
mm,
to be more like, you need to be healthy because maybe
yeah.
you can have something bad. Um, so I was afraid to be vegetarian for a while, but then I started like being like more intentional to the gym too, and be like, okay, I need to work out. I start running. I had like, I found my love for running. Now I love to run, so that's my
Mm,
thing. Um, and then last year, I was like, I really want to become vegetarian again because I enjoy it. But now I
mm,
have more options. I
right.
can buy tofu, I can buy milk, and it's not that expensive. Um, so I was like, okay, I'm going back to that. So I became vegetarian. I lost a lot of weight for that. But it was good. It
Yeah.
wasn't it
It
wasn't
wasn't
that
like
bad.
bad weight loss.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It was a good weight loss because I was doing exercise, I was eating well. So that I maintained my weight for a long while until now. So that's what I've been doing, and now I feel good about myself. I still go to the gym because
Mm.
it's not more like I need to lose weight, but it's more like I want to feel energetic. That's how you say
You
it?
want to stay fit. You want to feel fit.
Exactly.
Mm,
So now I go to the gym in the mornings, like 7
mm,
a.m. in the morning.
yeah.
And I start my day right. I really like it. So yeah, that's my kind of my journey. So yeah.
Mm. That's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That you were able to go through that, or like go through that
Mm-hmm.
phase of losing weight.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned something about being bullied in school,
Yes.
for your weight. Do you feel like that had sort of any impact on your mental health in any way, or the way that you felt about yourself, even after you
Yes.
moved over here?
Yeah. A lot. Literally a lot. So I was bullied since I was in middle school.
Mm,
For my weight because I don't know. I was like the only chubby kid in the school. So I lost a lot of weight when I was in like junior, sophomore kind of. So, and then like everyone was like, I was already the chubby kid, literally. It wasn't matter if I lose weight or not. Everyone was still thinking that I was like fat, you know? So I was like, okay, no matter what I do, then you still think I'm chubby, you know? So that kind of like put into my mental health and be like more like, okay, a lot of people think I'm chubby. Then the rest of the world thinks I'm chubby. So I moved here and I thought everyone else thought I was chubby. And I remember one of my friends, literally when I was here, she said like, oh my gosh, that kind of girl is like really big. And I was like, well, she's not that big like I am. And he looked at me and be like, you are not big at all. And I'm like, what? I'm super big. So I like kind of like had that thing in my head that I was like, a lot of people think I'm chubby, so I'm fat. So that's something that I've been struggling a lot to be like, yeah, people don't care about your weight here. I mean, some people do, but I mean, not your friends. So I was like, that makes a lot of sense right now. So I'm like, okay. So yeah, it's kind of like something that I struggle a lot, but I'm getting there. Yeah.
No, yeah, good on you for being able to sort of get on that path and change. So, because it's hard. Like sometimes those sort of mental scars don't go away.
Yes.
So yeah, no, good on you for being able to change that. Just to sort of like transition in a more lighter mode, like, do you remember any names that people called you that now when you look back on it, you find really funny?
Okay, so this is a funny story. I remember it's not in high school. In middle school, you have like a prom. You have like a prom in middle school and you prom in high school. So there was this kid that I literally like a much. I had a crush on this kid. So and they put you like the prom partner you're gonna have are like your same height, a little bit less, but not really. So he was my same height and everything. So he was going to be my partner. So I was like really excited about it. I was like, yay, and stuff. But then I remember when we were going to rehearsals, he literally called me fat in front of everyone. I was like, you are so fat. I cannot dance with you. I was like, Jesus, what? I was like so mad. I was mad, but at the same time, I was so sad. I wanted to cry. And I was like, well, that's not my problem that you don't want to dance with me. Well, you have to dance with me. I mean, they're not.
You don't
gonna
have
change.
a choice.
You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So that was like, and then I remember my like professor, my tutor, the person who was like taking care of us. She called me like on the side, and she was like, "I know you like this kid, but you don't have to actually think about whatever he's doing. He's just a kid." But I was like, well, I am too.
You're a kid too, right? Exactly.
I don't understand what you're talking about. He was like, just don't think whatever he's saying, because just don't put it in a hell. But that literally marked my whole life. But yeah, so they would call me fat. They would call me like chubby. They will call me. So I have like a lot of cheeks, like big cheeks, a lot of cheeks, big cheeks.
Yeah, I do
so
too.
There's a word in Spanish which is cachetona, which is mean like your cheeks are big. I don't know how they do in English, but they still call me like that. They call me like chubby is like a cute way to say fat or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess you could say that way. Yeah,
they're still doing that, but they know like it kind of affect me, so now they don't do it sometimes. It's just say like you were chubby before, but now, well, we got used to it, Yes. And I was like, well, I don't care at this point. But and they will call me this like sea animal. I don't know how to call it, but it's not like a shark, but it's another thing. It's like bigger than a shark.
Yeah.
I don't know how to call it though. But in Spanish it's called ballena. I don't know how to say
That's okay.
But yeah,
If
they'll
somebody
call.
if somebody who speaks Spanish knows what that means,
Yeah,
like mention it in the comments
you
below.
know actually what that means.
Yeah.
So it's called ballena, but it's not a shark. It's bigger than a shark. The biggest animal
A
in the
whale?
sea. I think so.
Okay.
It starts with a B.
No, a W.
Yeah,
WHAL.
whale. That
Yeah.
thing over there. I was like, yeah, they'll call me like that. So it
Mm.
was a hard journey, but now it's just like, okay, I'm getting better at it. So yeah.
Yeah. No, because I don't know. I personally don't know if this is bullying or not, because I know
Mhm.
like people have gone through worse.
Mhm.
But just to sort of like close this section before we go to the last part,
Yeah.
I used to be called funny names too, like because I was a heavier kid. I still am slightly more heavier compared to people my age, but yeah, like when I was in middle school, I guess
Uh huh.
like I was in like the second grade, third grade, fourth grade.
Uh
uh we had to wear like shorts to school, not
huh.
like trousers.
Okay.
So, and I have pretty thick thighs. So I remember kids like used to walk on like we used to go in the school bus, and a lot of kids used to call me, hey, chicken leg, hey, mutton leg, all that kind of stuff,
Oh.
because of how big my legs were.
Okay.
So like, yeah, stuff like that. Like I used to get angry at that time, but like now I just laugh thinking about it. Sometimes
Okay.
even my parents bring it up. Because I mean, that's just the way that my legs are defined,
Yeah.
even though I've like maybe like, sort of gotten a little
Uh huh.
better. Like
Yeah.
my legs are still a lot more bigger compared to, I guess, my hip size, if you will.
Mhm.
So yeah, like
Oh
I
my
still remember those
god.
days of people calling like
Yes.
chicken leg, mutton leg,
Wait,
all that sort
but
of thing.
chicken legs are not like skinny legs?
Exactly, which is why like it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
But at that point in time, they were like, oh, like chicken leg, because
Uh
like
huh.
it was big, like in terms
Okay.
of, I guess maybe it's because like the top is like there is meat there,
Okay.
so like this like too much flesh looks like
Okay.
meat, maybe, which is why they were
Uh
calling it
huh.
that. I don't know. If I can find someone who used to call me that and ask
Uh
them,
huh.
maybe they could tell me.
Yeah. Like
But
why?
yeah, why chicken leg?
Uh
But yeah,
huh.
I used to be called chicken leg and
Uh huh.
mutton leg. Mutton is kind of like goat meat.
Uh huh.
Even goats are not that fat. So like again,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense.
Uh huh.
But at that point in time, it did feel like, oh, they're making fun of you because you're
Uh
fat,
huh.
kind of
Oh
thing.
my
And I mean,
god.
I'm not gonna deny it. I
Uh
was a
huh.
heavy kid.
Uh huh.
I still, like I said, I still am a little more
Uh
heavier.
huh.
But yeah,
Did
so I
that
used to.
did
Yeah,
that
no, go
mark
ahead.
your life or something?
No, I
Uh
want to
huh.
say no because after I moved to India,
Mhm.
um, well, I mean, kids being kids, like we would all make fun of each other,
Mhm.
say dumb things that now when you look back, you're like, why did you even say that?
Mhm.
But it was never around the fact that I was a heavy kid or that I was
Yeah.
fat. It was usually about other stuff, like small things that you do.
Uh huh.
Like for example, whenever I write or when I'm really focusing on something, I tend to make faces. So
Okay.
like people used to make fun of that, like stuff like that,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
not about weight. So I wouldn't say that
Uh huh.
it left a scar.
Mhm.
But now
Okay.
that I think back upon it, sometimes I do laugh. Like it
Uh
just makes
huh.
me laugh.
It's funny actually.
It's funny, yeah. Looking back on it, it's really funny.
Uh huh. Okay.
So yeah. No, go ahead. You're
I
gonna say
forgot.
something?
Yeah, you were talking about chicken legs. I forgot something that was like really funny. So I
Mm.
have like, well, in contrary what you say, I have like really skinny legs on the bottom part too.
Mm.
So and like a big up, you know. So I was
Mm.
like, they will call me like chicken legs, but also like big body. You know how you mean? Uh
Ah,
huh.
okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So no, like yeah, pig body and chicken legs. So I was like, that makes a little sense. But I told my mom about it, and she was
Uh,
like, "Well, you do have a chicken leg." So I was like, "Mom, you're not helping at all."
right.
So I was like, "Okay, okay, that's
Yeah.
right." But she will laugh about it, and she will
Mm.
make me laugh about it. So that actually makes me feel good. So
Mm.
yeah, that was really funny because I was like, "Yeah, that's actually one of those."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like dumb things like that. Like
Uh
I
huh.
mean, no, like I'm not like sort of downplaying the
Mhm.
impact that those things have, because for
Mhm.
some people it really sticks and really makes an
Yeah.
impact. Like it scars you.
Mhm.
So I'm not downplaying that at all. It is like,
Yeah.
as much as possible, we should
Mm-hmm.
maybe try and get kids to stop saying those things
Yes,
or
totally.
being mean to each other. Yeah, but now at least for me personally, when I look back on it, and for you too, like you
Uh-huh.
said, you like we look at the funny side of it now.
Yeah.
So we've sort of moved on from those days of being called fat or
Right.
whatever. Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah. Yeah,
That's
but on that note, we're gonna transition into the last phase of the podcast. First, by starting off with the segment called Bish Bash Bosh, which basically is a segment where I give the guests 3 words or 5 words rather,
okay.
and I want you to respond to those words in 3 words or in 3 phrases. So, like for
Mm-hmm.
example, if I was to say God, what are the 3 words that come to your mind? Kind of thing.
Um, mm,
Yeah, God's
Savior.
not the word. God's not
Okay.
the word, but like basically, that's
Okay.
basically how this
Okay.
game
Okay.
goes.
So
So
I.
I'll give you a word.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I
No, go
say
ahead.
like 3 words that actually connects with that comes to my brain literally to
Yeah,
me.
like whatever comes to your mind first. Like I said, like if I was to say God, what are the first things? What are the first 3 things that come to your mind?
Okay.
That kind
That
of thing.
makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So the first word is differences. What comes to your mind when I say the word differences?
Differences.
Mm-hmm.
I would say unique.
Mm.
Um, I would say. Mm, I would say cultural differences,
Okay.
and I would say learning part. Learning. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
What comes to your mind when I say the word nuance?
Say that again.
Nuance. It means like gray, like there's like how we see like there's only 2 parts, but there's more in between.
Mhm.
Like it's not just black and white. There's like gray too, kind of
Oh,
thing. So that's
okay.
what nuance means.
Okay. So perspective.
Okay.
Um, what else? What else? Um, okay. Um, I'll say journey because
Okay.
you can see like whatever phase you have in your life.
Yeah.
Mm, and I'll say like beauty because
Mm.
I was just thinking relating this to sunsets because sometimes you
Yeah.
can see your day so dark, but there's
Mm.
one part that makes it feel good about it.
Mm.
So yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. The third word is learning. What comes to your mind when you say the word learning?
Learning. I'll say again, culturization. Like when
Okay.
you want to learn some cultures and get informed about some cultures.
Mm-hmm.
What else? What else? Learning. I don't know. Trying new things.
Okay.
Yeah. And what else? Mm, mm, I would say looking to your mistakes first. Looking to you first instead of others. Yeah.
Mm. Learning from your mistakes, kind of thing.
Learning from your mistakes. There you go.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. The fourth word is empathy. What comes to your mind when I say the word empathy?
Ooh, empathy. Okay. Um, I'll say kind.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say loving others,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll say intentional. Um,
Mm. And for the last word for this segment, similarities. What comes to your mind when I say the word similarities?
uh, okay. I'll say relationships because you can
Okay.
build really good relationships with people who are similar than you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Similarities. Let me think about it. Hmm. I don't know. Um, I'll say enjoyable
Mm-hmm.
because you can talk about things that you like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also, hmm, I don't know actually. That doesn't come in my
Anything, and it can be something very random, like whatever. When I say the word similarities, you know.
similarities. Similarities. I'll just say learning again. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
There you
Okay.
go.
Cool. Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
So for the last two sort of questions, well, the last one's not really a question, but it's more of a request. But the penultimate question, um, on for this episode, how do you relate to people? Like if they don't necessarily believe in the things that you do,
Mm-hmm.
you believe in. How do you find ways to relate to them?
Well, first of all, we are all people. We are all human. So
Yeah.
that's one thing. And second of all, because you always have something
Mm,
to talk about. Because
right.
I mean, it's not only that it's not people can be unique, but we
Yeah.
also have everything, something in common.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are going through something, or we are happy about something. So
Yeah.
you can always ask about like, tell me more about it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. Um, what did I? Okay, so I really love to talk about my culture, and I feel like people like that. Like they want to learn more about the whole world, or sometimes they
Right.
want to be culturaside. That's how you say it. I think maybe when um you want to learn about the
Like you're
world.
curious.
Yes, curious or something like that. Um,
Mm,
for example, it's not like Latin America is not only Mexico. That's one thing. That's a big deal in the United States. Um,
mm-hmm.
People in Peru, they speak Spanish. Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't speak Peruvian. Uh, it's something so random, like
Yeah.
yeah, I really love to talk about my country and be like, well, we have this and cultures, and this is how we celebrate Christmas. So yeah. Mm.
Mm. Cool. Yeah. And what you just said earlier about like you speak Spanish and not Peruvian. Similar things have happened to me too. Like people have been like, "Oh, what do you speak? Indian?"
Yeah, it's
Like, yeah, Indian is not a thing. It's
uh,
Hindi
yeah.
or like that. We speak many different languages.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that happens to a lot of people like who are not necessarily aware.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't want to sort of again like bash them for not knowing because like sometimes even we don't know stuff about some
Yeah.
other culture. So
Uh-huh.
even we're in the dark about things like that.
Hmm.
But yeah.
So
Anyway, transitioning from go ahead. You were gonna say something?
the only random thing that I have here is like, where are you from? No, yeah, what do you speak? That's what they ask, and I'm like, I'm not about to say Spanish, They say you speak Mexican, and I'm like, well, they speak Spanish, so I speak Spanish too. Like we kind of related. But yeah, I just feel sometimes I just feel so bad, but I'm like, I really want to laugh about it and be like, okay. But I feel like it's something that
Mm,
actually like it's a big deal, because a
yeah.
lot of people have said it to me, like a lot of people, you cannot imagine how many people had asked me that thing, do you
Mm,
speak Mexican? And I'm like, no, I don't. I'm not
uh-huh.
even from Mexico.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so funny, but
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. Uh, like, have you gotten any other thing? Like, has anybody called you anything other than Mexican, or is that
um
what you?
they have told me that I'm from Malaysia.
Mm,
um
interesting. Huh.
Malaysia,
Okay.
Malaysia, Japan. I'm like,
Huh.
Japan? I don't look anything from Japan. No, no
Right.
way.
Yeah.
Um, Middle East too. Yeah.
Mm,
Uh, yeah. That's what they have they think that I'm from. But
mm,
most of the time they just guess because I don't know, accent maybe.
yeah.
They say, "Well, are you Latina?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." I really
Yeah.
like when they say like Latina and not directly, "Are you Mexican?"
Right.
Or when they ask, "Where are you from?"
Mm-hmm.
They just not suppose that you are from Mexico. So like, okay, yes,
Mm,
yeah.
cool.
Have they
So
asked
you
you?
are Peruvian and they speak Spanish. They've asked me if I am from. I've actually gotten Mexican too once.
Okay, okay,
Somebody asked me if I was Mexican. Um, I've also gotten Middle Eastern, if I'm
okay,
like Middle Eastern,
uh-huh,
or if I am from like Saudi Arabia.
okay,
Uh, yeah, those are the ones that I usually get. But people can usually tell that I'm Indian.
uh-huh,
Uh, but those are the three that like I've gotten the most
yeah,
in terms of are you Middle Eastern, are you Saudi Arabian, or are you like Mexican?
yeah,
Mexican, not that often, but the other two I do get
uh-huh,
sometimes, like when people are not sure, especially
yeah,
when I have a bit of a longer beard.
yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Like, okay, so this is so random, but when the first time I met you, I thought you were Latino. Actually, I was like,
Okay.
and Isabella can tell you about it. Like, I remember I was like, is he from like Latin America, maybe Colombia or something like that?
Uh-huh.
She was like, I don't know. Let's just ask. But we didn't ask. I think you told the world. I didn't ask about it. And so I was like, oh, that makes sense. So yes,
Yeah.
fun fact
Was
over there.
No, that's funny. Was this when we were doing the pageant thing?
Yes.
Like when I was okay,
When you were
gotcha.
when we were doing the pageant, you say like, "Hi, my name is Prateek and I'm from India." So literally, my face went like Latino to like, "Oh, he doesn't speak Spanish." Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't speak Spanish, no.
I
But
thought you
I
were.
actually I actually want to learn Spanish
Uh-huh,
eventually. Like
uh-huh.
it's something I want to learn. But yeah, maybe then I could speak Spanish too and
Yes.
still be yeah.
You ever want to practice? I'm here.
Thank
Yes.
you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, just to close this off, the
Mhm,
last request. Not a. I've always been calling it a question, but I feel like I should stop calling it a question.
mhm.
It's more of a request, and that is like leave the audience with a positive thought that you think will
Okay.
enrich us for the better.
Okay. So I really feel. Okay, I'm not talking to you, but I'm talking to the audience.
Yeah, yeah. Go for it. Go for it. By all means.
Okay, so I really feel like, as I thought before, let's be more intentional with people. Let's love people. I know we have been going through a lot of stuff more with COVID, but we have to be more, um, more intentional and more like asking your friends how are they doing, because you don't know what they're going through. Sometimes they
Right.
just don't want to talk about it, but if they actually don't talk about it, then don't insist because it's their privacy. But if they do, then just follow up with them and just take care of your friends. Love them as much as you can, hug them as much as you can. But sometimes maybe you won't see them again. You don't know what's going to happen the next day. So yeah.
Let's be intentional. Okay, cool. That's
Yes.
beautiful. That's
Mhm.
beautiful. And on that note, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah. Thank
I
you for
really
having
appreciate you.
me.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate you making the time to sort of
Mhm.
sit down and talk for close to an hour and a half. Well,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, about an
Wow.
hour and a half. So, yeah, but it flew by. It flew by. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on once again, and thank you for everybody who's listening and watching. I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of Perspective Platoon with Prateek. Make sure to follow Giannina on her social media accounts and mention in the comment section below some of the things that you found interesting or intriguing about this conversation. Make sure to also check the description box below for all sources of information and content that we've spoken about today. Like this video, share it around, and subscribe to the channel and follow Random Relatability on all social media platforms. If you've made it this far, thank you once again. I really appreciate you listening to the entire episode and joining in on the conversation. Until next time, stay safe, take care, and don't forget to keep your mind open to different perspectives, because you never know. Random relatability might just be around the corner.